As we go to the chitas of the day, today is Thursday. We are holding on chapter 36, verse number 20, the fifth reading of the parsha. So the Torah is actually continues to talk about the actual building of the Mishkan. Vayasas akroshim, and they made the planks, the wall, the mishkan matzei shitin. They made it out of acacia wood, oimdim upright. Eser amas hakeresh, each keresh was 10 amas its length. V'am v'chetzi rochbay, and a cubit and a foot and a half. I'm sorry, its width. Each and every plank had two pegs. Two hands, so to say, going out. A mishulaves achas al echas, each one facing the other. Mishkan, that's how he made to the planks of the Mishkan. And he made to the Mishkan 20 planks for the southern side. Each plank had two pegs, so you had to have 20 planks. You needed to have 40 adonim. You needed to make 40 sockets under the 20 planks. Each and every plank had two sockets. To its two pegs. And two adonim underneath, two sockets underneath one plank for two pegs. Since to the second side of the Mishkan, the fast suffering to the northern side, also, Eslim Kroshim made again 20 planks. And they had 40 sockets. 40 sockets, correct. Kesef, which was made out of silver. There were two sockets on the one plank. And two sockets underneath each plank. And to the western side of the Beis Hamikdash, the back side, also, Shisha Krashim made 6 planks. And then made 2 planks at the corner, at the end. So there was ultimately 8 planks to the back, but inside the Mishkan, you only saw 6 planks. And they were matched evenly below. And together they were matched on top. And they were put into one ring. Cain also so he did to the two sides of the two corners. And since there were 8 planks, there were 8 planks with their silver sockets. Shisha also Adon was 16 sockets. Each socket had 2 Adonim, each plank had 2 sockets. And then he made bars of acacia wood. Each one of them had 5 different bars. And so there were 5 bars to the plank on the other side of the Mishkan. And there's also to the rear side of the Mishkan, also had on the western side 5 bars. And then he made 1 bar that went through the entire center of the Mishkan. And I said that was the miraculous bar that made a turn, so to say, from the left, where it went through the Mishkan on one side, made a turn, a left turn, and another left turn, and it went through the entire Mishkan from one side to the other side. So it was something like a plank, a bar of acacia wood that was 20, 40, 48 amas. 48 amas. You'd say it's 18 inches an amma. So it was a pretty long blank, pretty long bar, so to say. But it went from one side to the other side, and it made the Mishkan. It was like the belt around the Mishkan, one solid belt around the Mishkan. And they overlaid the planks with gold. And the rings he made in gold. Which were holding to the bars. He overlaid the bars gold. everything was covered with gold. Then he made curtains out of blue, purple, and crimson wool. They were masterworks of a weaver. Asa kruvim, they were made as cherubim. They made out two different signs on each one on a different side, a lion and a eagle, as it was done on the cover of the Mishkan. Then this was the front of the Mishkan. He made 4 planks of acacia wood, and he covered them with gold. He cast of 4 sockets. So these 4 pillars of gold only had 1 socket underneath each one. There were not 2 sockets underneath each one. And he made the screen, the entrance, the doorway to the entrance of the tent. He made them out of crimson wool, twisted of fine linen, and work of embroidery. He made 5 pillars, and their hooks, because the curtain hung on these boards, on these pillars. And he made them all gold. But the name Chamisha and their 5 sockets were nechoshes, were copper. And now we go to chapter 37, verse 1. Vayas B'Tzalel. This is a very important thing today in Reb Shem at 10 o'clock. We're going to learn a Sikh of the Rebbe. So over here, he made the Mishkan first. And now he started with the vessels of the Mishkan. And there's a whole argument, what did he make first, the Mishkan or the vessels? Vayas B'Tzalel Sa'arin. And B'Tzalel made the Arin Atzei Shitim. He made the Arin out of acacia wood. Amasai v'chetzi arkai, it was 2.5 cubits it's long. V'ama v'chetzi rachbei, and 1.5 cubits is width. V'ama v'chetzi kamasei, and 1.5 cubits its height. So Rashi says, why does it say by the Arin the Vayas B'Tzalel? It says since he devoted himself to the work more than any other wise man, it was called on his name, Vayas B'Tzalel. So Vayas B'Tzalel, even though there were many other workers there, but we give him the honor as if Vayas B'Tzalel and B'Tzalel made it, like it was his thing, something that he made. It's a pairs of third. He made it out of. He overlaid it with gold. It was made from gold from inside and on the outside. It was totally made gold inside the outside. The middle was wood. So he made 3 boxes: a box of gold, an inner box of wood, and a 3rd box of gold. Verse 3, and he made 4 rings of gold, and the 4 corners of this box. 2 rings on one side, and 2 rings on the other side. Then he made poles of acacia wood, and he covered these poles with gold. And then he put the poles in the sides of the Arin, to carry the Arin. And then he made a cover over this ark. A Masai v'chetzi arka was 2.5 cubits its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. And then he made 2 golden cherubim, zav, which was out of gold. Miksha Isam, as we know, the cherubim came from the cover of the cover itself. Miksha Isam, he hammered them out to the 2 ends of the cover. So they were not separate things that were put on the cover. They came from the cover of the ark. There was 1 cherub from this side, and there was another cherub from the other side. Mina kapelis, from the cover itself. Also, we made these cherubim for the both of its sides. And these cherubims had wings that spread upwards. Lamaila, Sechem al Kapeim, shielding the ark with the cover of the ring. Remember the picture. The cherubim's wings cover the entire ark, the cover of the ark. And one face faced the other one. There were faces of the cherubim. And we know, as we learned, there was faces of one of a girl and one of a boy. Verse 10. Then he made the table of lechem haponim. He made the shluch, lechem, the face, the showbreads. He made the shulchan. Atzei shitim. He made it out of wood. A Masai marker was 1 cubit high. And 1 cubit. It's and cubit and a half. It's 1 cubit wide. It was 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide, and a cubit and a half its height. And then he covered it, Zav Torah, he covered it with gold. Yasle Zen, as you remember, he made a crown around it. So we know the Aron had a crown, the Shulchan had a crown, and the Mizbeach HaZav had a crown. These 3 things had a crown. Remember Rashi said the Aron was for Torah, the Shulchan was for Kahuna, and the Zav, the one around the Keturah was for Malchus, kingship. The 3 crowns that God has brought to the world. And then he made a frame, a handbreadth around it. Remember, the whole machlekes argument was the frame on the side of the table, or was like on top of it. And he made this zerzov, he made this crown around this frame. And then he made 4 rings for this table. He placed the 4 rings on the 4 corners that were on the 4 legs. The rings were opposite the frame. Botim labadim, they were holders for the poles, to carry the table. Verse 15. And then he made poles that were made out of wood. And he covered it with gold. To carry the shulchan when they journeyed. Verse 16. And then he made all the vessels, which were for the table. As kares, as kapes, its forms, its spoons, its half pipes. As kashes and its supports. All that the table needed to be able to put on it 12 showbreads, the lechem haponim, that were needed for this table were all made out of gold. They were made out of pure gold. And that's how we finish the Chumash for today. As you see, there's no Rashis, because Rashi has explained this in detail in the portion of Teruma that we learned 2 weeks ago. We now go to the Tanya of the day. We are starting the famous Tanya, famous chapter of the day. It's a very short Tanya today. It's chapter 32 of Tanya. Perek Lamed Beis, which the Alter Rebbe talks about Avas Yisrael, the meaning and the importance and what is truly the concept of loving thy neighbor as thyself. Before, in the previous chapter, we mentioned that a person has to be shafel. He has to be shafel, lower to everybody. He has to feel low to everybody. Right? He has to have humility, not humility to God. He has to have humility to every individual. Right? That's what we learned. So in the previous chapter, the Alter Rebbe taught that when one is bitterly remorseful over his sorrow's spiritual state, he must strive for joy by considering the following. True, on the account of his body and his animal soul, he's utterly remote from godliness. Yet, he is within him the divine soul. And it's part of God. reality, not something, right? The Alter Rebbe mentions mamish, it's a reality that he's part of God, right? And this soul is in exile within his body, and the animal soul is so greatly pitied. One should therefore strive constantly to release it from exile, run, and to return it to the divine source through engaging in Torah mitzvahs. Such a return will bring great joy. And what is that joy? The joy of freedom. The knowledge that the body and the soul remain in their unfortunate state should not disturb one joy on account of his divine soul. That's how we ended yesterday's Tanya. You're right. For a Beinoni, he's never going to get rid of his animalistic soul. He'll always have his animalistic soul. Doesn't change the fact that he has a godly soul. And he can give his godly soul freedom. You're right. The godly soul might always have to be in a running situation. He'll never have, so to say, time to rest. Because, as we said, until Mashiach comes, the Pharaoh is right behind him. And in this situation, the Pharaoh is right with him. And if he's not going to keep on running, if he's not going to keep on trucking, he will be taken over by the Pharaoh. But what keeps him going is his joy in his godly soul. If he would have true joy in his godly soul, he will be able to spill over into his whole day. Okay. So this is how we ended off. This the knowledge of the body and remain in the unfortunate state should not disturb the joy on account of his divine soul. For the soul should be infinitely more precious in one's eyes. Right? That's what we learned in Tanya. That's what we ended. How precious our soul should be in our eyes. Doesn't make a difference who we are, what level we are. Doesn't make a difference. Each and every one of us have a chelik alakam imal mamish. Each and every one of us is a part of God within us, and therefore we ought to be happy with that. Now the Alter Rebbe is going to turn it to the concept of opposite soul. Now the key of madvoram aniskalel, acting on the vice of the above. Leah is gufin nizv nimis beinov. On the one hand, a person should view his body with scorn and contempt, and he should have only the joy, should be the joy of the soul. If we understand that to ourselves, that the way we are a Beinoni, or we're trying to be a Beinoni, we that are trying to be a Beinoni, a middleman, understand that the way we need to do this is by on one hand, realizing the body is the body. How important the body is, it's thus from earth you come, to earth you return. And therefore it's a despicable, so to say, a despicable thing. Who cares about it? What's more important? What's true joy? The joy of the soul. So with that, the Alter Rebbe says we're going to be able to do, if we are going to be able to do this ourselves, if we are going to be able to understand this concept to ourselves, we are going to be able to understand the mitzvah of Avos Soul. You should love somebody else like you love yourself. If you love your body, you will never love somebody else. If you love your soul, you will always love somebody else. And that's the trick. The more you love your soul, the more you'll love somebody else. The more you're going to put your soul, you're going to have the joy of your soul, you'll have the joy of somebody else. The more you have the joy of your body, the less you're going to have the joy of somebody else. And that's the way the Alter Rebbe explains it. This is an easy path, because everybody has struggles. How we're supposed to love everybody? I don't like a lot of people. I love him. You have a mitzvah, right? To somebody you love, you don't need a mitzvah. It's when the Torah says you should love everybody, it's the people you don't love. That's where the mitzvah clicks in. That's the person you have to love, right? Because it's a mitzvah. Oh, but I don't like him. You have a mitzvah. Or you might not want to put on tefillin today. You have to put on tefillin because it's a mitzvah. You might want to eat kosher, but you have to do it because it's a mitzvah. You might not like this person. You have to like him. You have to love him, really. You have to love him. Because why? It's a mitzvah. So that might be hard. That's a very hard mitzvah. It's not an easy mitzvah. It's actually one of the hardest mitzvahs. The Mikdash was destroyed because of hatred between one Jew and another Jew. And we see that until today. There's hate in between Jews. That's a sad situation. Why? Because to every Jew that you think you're not supposed to love, that's the Jew you have to love. That's the Jew that you get a mitzvah to love. So now, if you understand what we learned in chapter 29 and chapter 30 and 31 and 31, you will understand and come to easily to the mitzvah of you should love your fellow like you love yourself. L'chol nefesh Yisrael, to love every Jew. Whether he's great or low in his spiritual stature. Because you have a mitzvah. The Torah says, you have to love every single person. Every single Jew. And that completes the Tanya of today. Very powerful chapter in Tanya. And as you see, it's going to be divided into many days. So, in Mitzvah Hashem, we'll continue the Tanya tomorrow. Today is the 23rd day of the month. And your Tilim, it's chapter 108, 109, 110, 111, and 112. And you would do the chitas of the day. I wish you all a beautiful, wonderful day. In Mitzvah at 10 a.m., either at Chabad or on Zoom or on Torah Direct, Facebook Torah Direct. We're going to have a class in the portion of the week, beautiful Sikha of the Rebbe on the portion of the week. And then in Mitzvah at 7:30, we're going to continue the fourth class of meditation of Sinai, also at 7:30, but that's going to be on Zoom or at Chabad. I wish you all a wonderful and beautiful day. Have a wonderful and beautiful day. See you all shortly tomorrow, 8 o'clock. We'll continue the chitas of the day.